Hi. Man, did you see the decisions the city of Eureka made last week?
What decision?
Why are they spending money on trails when they could be filling the potholes on my street?
Oh, well, actually, that money came from a grant specifically for trails.
How do you know that?
Well, I listened to their podcast, and I also watched this really long documentary.
What?
Yeah, the city has its own media division. Yeah, and it gives you access to a bunch of stuff.
That'd be great. The headlines never tell me enough.
Yeah.
You'll get access to information on city programs, events, and activities coming up.
Developing social skills and making new friends. 744
tour Old Town or Dictionary to find out how to play. Mark your calendar.
Play Day. See ya. Get out and play day.
Reggae Group is Saturday, September. $25 at the door. The fundraiser for Eureka's Cape program.
A fundraiser for the Community Access Project for Eureka.
Being in there's no kind of identity they're trying to emulate. You know, they're not trying to copy your step code. They're not trying to copy you.
Low limit! Obstacle courses.
Hey, that's you!
Games. Couples will compete for bride.
There's also informative and educational information for the public's benefit.
medical emergency calls, and dispatch police are limited, so potential attendees need to reserve their spot by calling. Take place on Tuesday, September 25th at 9.
It is an issue in the city. If you see garbage, debris, or collective blight in our streets, alleys, open spaces, or any property, number on the screen. If the property is owned by the city, we will address the issue.
There's also more in-depth documentary-style videos that provides insight to several important city programs, like the trails or fundraisers.
Multi-use trails are never going to happen. I don't know why you're spending any time or energy on this.
Councils change, and councils have different priorities, and keeping the trail as a priority for the council and not having them become distracted.
And at the time, none of the local governments had really strong champions. You know, laid great groundwork for now in the last few years. Miles Slattery, who was that champion that came into the city.
You know, the political climate and those type of things were ever anything that I've considered back then, nor do I consider now.
What is going on here?
Oh, that's from our last Cape fundraiser where we partnered with Hood Slam.
Is that the community services director who just went through a table?
Yep, he's real dedicated when it comes to raising money for the community.
Where does the money for that event go?
It goes to programs like Uplift Eureka and Pathway to Payday, which you can also learn about with videos from Cape Media.
You guys have set a new bar for this program. Thank you, Jeff. This is the most retention we've had, and I'm proud and excited to say that when you get these forms back, every single one of you have received at least a job offer or a follow-up interview offer. So good for you. You guys.
This is our third annual for the Pathway to Payday, and this is the best and the most successful I ever had. And the people really had opportunity, and also the local business partnerships are very good. I'm so grateful about City of Eureka and create this program for us to improve the people's lives. And then because on these people basically have been judged already.
We meet every week as a group to talk about how our experience with working with our participant has been that week, and discuss any positives, any challenges, and training topics kind of come up organically at those meetings. Examples have been how to navigate conversations dealing with difficult topic matter, maybe medical challenges that one is experiencing, or maybe somebody's just really depressed, and how do we navigate that with empathy, but also empower the person to move out of that difficult emotional space and move forward and end that meeting on a positive note.
They didn't feel any value in our community, and now they're beginning to feel that, and hearing.
Wow, all of this is really great.
Yeah, and you can do a real deep dive with some of their podcasts. EPD Ride-Alongs actually put you right in the front seat for a ride-along with the Eureka Police Department.
Right, well, thank you for joining us for the 5th episode of EPD Ride-Along, and I am here riding along with Officer Rabang.
Hello.
And is it Officer or Detective Rabang?
It's Officer.
Officer, okay, yeah. Officer Rabang. And he is one of the POP officers, and he's also a MIST officer. And so what are we doing today?
We're just driving around. I'm going to show you some of the places that were inundated with illegal camps. and some of which have been cleaned out and actually looking pretty good. One of the actual areas I'm going to take you to is right behind the mall. It's also behind Big Five, which is considered the Victoria Place. We've been working with the general manager of the mall, and he's actually hired someone to clean out back there, which is, you'll see, it looks really well, really good.
Or the new upcoming podcast, the Human Being Business Daily Drop-In, the podcast that puts you right in the middle of the Cape office operations.
We want to give her this opportunity, whoever, her, him, we want to give them this opportunity, but if they can't hold it together and they repeatedly take advantage of it, then it's impeding on everybody else's chance for success.
Right.
And so we definitely
exactly.
Well, I can work on a draft of that
if you can
agreement
just find, see if you can go online and
find the leader agreement.
Find the leader agreement, and then the four of us can think of things that we just start an email chain, like, because you see more of the work program, you guys see more of the co-pilot stuff, and things like, I agree to be respectful to my co-pilot. With the problem we had last week, I agreed to not try to reach out personally or ask for favors or find them on social media.
They have several podcasts that sit down with department heads, council members, local business owners, and community partners for in-depth interviews.
This is, I think the introduction already says it, this is This Time I Mean It, where we find inspirational people who have overcome obstacles, and there are so many people who are overcoming obstacles of all levels all the time. Kim, this time, Kim Burgle, was able to introduce me to Jim. And Kim, why don't you tell me a little bit about, or tell us a little bit about why you brought Jim into the loop?
So I've known Jim for about 6 years, I guess, six years. And when I met Jim, he was, I guess what they like to say, in his cups, if you will.
In his cups, is that
in his cups, it's a term for people that are drinking a lot.
Okay.
And so at the time that I met him, I was frankly quite annoyed with him because he was disruptive, and he couldn't carry on a conversation, and he was just noisy, and he didn't mean to be. He was a good guy, but he was just a train wreck, frankly. And over time, I watched him grow into this miraculous person that he is today, and that we have conversations, and he's living a productive, healthy, happy life, and that is a huge feat from coming from that.
How do you guys get people involved in the program? Like, what people are we reaching to be involved in?
Well, I tell you, this is our third year doing this, and then really good build a gap between the people doesn't know who gonna hire them employment for them, and then when we start in the beginning, and because we had a lot of people want to work, but they had nowhere to work, nobody hired them. So that was really, really nice for the city come out to me, reach out to me, ask me, can we do something? So I can answer my prayer for a long time. And because I out there a lot and I see a lot of people want to work. So, and then we work together since then. And then to me, this is really good for us, the employment for our client or anybody in the public, looking for a job in there. Because they have very low sales team. That's a part of pathway to the payday. They teach them how to interview. That's a lift up the self-spread and self-esteem.
So Miles is the director of community services, and so Miles, why don't you start by just telling us a little bit about kind of how you got started in the city, maybe how you got to living in Eureka, and what led up to that.
So I went to college here at HSU. I graduated in '94, long time ago. And then I moved back down to San Diego, which is where I was born and raised. And I worked there, starting out as an environmental consulting firm for a few years. And then from there went into working for the city of San Diego. I was a chemist for the city of San Diego for their environmental monitoring department for the wastewater treatment plant. And with that background, I kind of got into regulatory permitting, those type of things. And then the budget in San Diego hit the pooper, and we weren't looking at any raises for a very long time. And so I started looking for jobs outside of the area. a job for project manager position came up here in the city of Eureka, and it was to run the stormwater program for the city of Eureka. They were just implementing stormwater.
So
stuff.
right up your alley.
It was right up my alley.
How perfect.
Yep, and that's where I met our former boss, Bruce Young.
R.I.P.
Interviewed with him. R.I.P. Bruce.
Well,
but
not
he's
really.
still
He's
alive.
alive. He's actually really
Not
alive.
dead yet.
But R.I.P.
He's
with
still
the city.
golfing. He just doesn't. He travels a lot now. Anyway, so worked for Public Works and Stormwater, and then ended up doing a lot of odd jobs because utility stuff. Did a lot of engineering kind of type projects, and did a lot of permitting for not just stormwater but for the whole department. And then
I think fine dining gets a bad rap a lot of times because people think that's expensive. So we try not to go into the whole thing with fine dining. It's a very nice place. We try to have nice service. We try to have a nice wine list, and all those things add to a wonderful experience. What we're really trying to do is create an experience. And we've been fortunate enough to, since '87 be in business. So 31 years, I guess, we've been doing food and wine at the Hotel Carter and Carter House Inns, we call it today, with Restaurant 301.
Right. And there's never any friendly competition or not so friendly competition between.
I never really focus on what other people are doing. I was taught just if you do that, you end up sometimes not, doing anything yourself. So we always just said, well, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to pay attention to what people are doing a little bit, but I'm not going to worry about it too much because I won't get anything done. So we always just kind of do our own thing. We enjoy lots of the other local restaurants, and we go out and eat.
Wow, I have way more access to information than I ever thought. The only problem is, I don't know how to listen to a podcast.
That's okay. They have a video cast.
Golly, that's awesome. How do I get a podcast?
There are several ways you can listen to a podcast.
Okay, well, how?
Well, what type of phone do you have?
I have an iPhone.
On an iPhone, you simply click the podcast icon, and then you go to the search button, and then in the browser, you click any category you want: sports, puppies, Cinderella, your favorite TV show, and then you click search. Within seconds, hundreds of podcasts should come up, and then you click on one you like, touch subscribe, and they'll be instantly delivered.
Oh, there's one by Scott Q. Marcus. There's one I want to hear.
That's fantastic, Sam. Now all you have to do is click subscribe, and every time he uploads a new episode, it'll come to you directly.
To get started, you can visit their website at Cape-Media, or just search Cape Media on YouTube, Facebook, or wherever you get your podcasts.
We are Cape Media. Like our studio? Technically, it's more like this, really. Not really a studio.